all ideas are only in the interactions of matter in
I'm not disputing that.
human or animal brains.
I'm not disputing that, but I'm just saying that we as conscious beings didn't come from a superior conscious beings, what you're saying. We just happen.
We've
chance.
extrapolated those consciousnesses back to as far back as we previously could.
Let's go on to this.
So if you start in the growth of religion and culture, so you're going way back.
I didn't really want to get into.
Well, just very simply, you have Hinduism, right, which describes God basically as close to the infinite. It divides up, and then smaller things emerge, and so on. They had Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, are the destroyer, the creator, and the sustainer. And those are fundamentally basic concepts of the laws of logic. Something is what it is, isn't what it isn't, and there's nothing in between those two.
So now, from this energy, things proceeded. We came from that energy. Eventually, right?
Yeah.
So when we came, you're saying that wasn't a conscious decision, it just happened. Rules emerged.
Yes.
Yeah, how? I want to know how rules emerge in an entity or a thing that was always there.
You divide one part of that energy from the totality of all the other bits of energy. You have a quantum leap of the most basic unitized piece of energy to divide infinity up into its
That division
parts.
that took place, was it conscious or not conscious?
No, it's a function of...
Function?
Yeah.
How is that a function? Where is this function property coming from when it has no beginning? From
logic.
You have detected or identified or discovered the rules that are already present there inherently within this universe or within this something. So these rules,
there are rules of absolute excluded division. So
the rules
that we have discovered have been true in all circumstances that we've been able to observe.
We're talking about something that existed always.
No, we're not talking about something that existed always. We're talking about everything that existed always.
Okay, everything. That everything has some level of consciousness. Or not.
Right. Consciousness is an expression, is a mathematical expression. You can describe it.
You can describe feelings through mathematics, no problem. But we know what consciousness is. Are you conscious of the discussion that's taking place now?
So if you, yes, I'm conscious of my reality.
Do you have a will where you can say, that's it, enough for me, I'm going to walk away? Yeah. You can will to carry on, or you can will to stop the discussion anytime.
To a degree, I have a degree of choice in that. I can make choices.
Yes, right. That thing that exists
because
always...
a lot of actually the choices that I would make would be to do with social influences and... Sorry?
But still you can.
Sorry?
Yes,
I wish to continue this discussion as long as I can.
So you have,
so I stay.
Within your consciousness,
I make those decisions based on external input.
So you have a will.
I'm not completely free in that will. I don't have sudden...
I'm not saying whether you're absolutely free in your will, but you have a will. This something that exists always.
The language you use does suggest an absolute, and I'm taking it in that way because it's...
Does this something that we discussed?
Absolutes only a moment ago.
Does this something that we have agreed on? Does this something have a will? That gave rise to everything.
You've explained that. But you've got to need
so going way back. Let's assume that my model is. Let's start from my model. So we have now compressed the entirety of everything into a single point in the form of the raw energy capable of re-expressing everything again.
Can I ask a question in this, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you say that same raw energy that you're speaking of, would you possibly say that it's conscious?
No.
You wouldn't?
No. Not in that form.
Okay, would you...
Would you agree?
But
it expands, it creates particles that interact, and those particles express the reality of ideas.
Interaction is based on rules.
Right,
the rules are properties that emerge from basic logic through to mathematics, philosophy, science, truth.
When you talk about emerging, you're talking about something happening in time. this thing
So
was always there.
independent of force and
You would agree.
reality,
You would agree.
logic.
Let me just
and
ask
the
a
rules
question
of
on
expression.
continuing. Right. You would agree that we're conscious beings. Would you agree on that? We're conscious beings.
I will infer that you are also conscious as well as I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it possible that there's a singularity that's also a conscious being that compresses of the mass of us? Is that a possibility in your reckoning? You understand what I'm saying?
Not in my understanding.
I mean in this way, that it's a one.
Not in my understanding.
No.
It would be too chaotic a system to maintain.
So
intellect.
you would basically say that something that we came along as conscious beings, separate from a superior conscious being.
Yeah, all ideas are only in the interactions of matter in
I'm not disputing that.
human or
I'm
animal
not
brains.
disputing that,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that we as conscious beings didn't come from a superior conscious beings. What you're saying? We just happen. We happen by
we've
chance.
extrapolated those consciousnesses back to as far back as we previously could.
Let's go on to this issue.
So if you start in the growth of religion and culture, so you're going way
I
back.
didn't really want to get into.
No, well, just very simply, you have Hinduism,
Yeah.
right, which describes God basically as close to the infinite. It divides up, and then smaller things emerge, and so on. And then
It's a conscious being.
Well,
At the end of the day.
Because I'm not too
Not
impressed
necessarily.
with God as humans
but it's described
speak of him.
Yeah, I mean, the language.
I don't have a
the
problem
language
with
is
God,
the
but
language
I
is
have
very
a problem with how
metaphysical.
humans interpret him.
Yeah. Okay.
So I
but-
agree with you in that sense.
And they had Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma,
yes,
are the
yes.
destroyer, the creator, and the sustainer.
Yes.
And those are fundamentally basic concepts of the laws of logic.
Yeah.
Something is what it is, isn't what it isn't, and there's nothing in between those two. One thing divides something being
all I wanted to
created,
get
and one
from
thing
you is,
divides
was
being
it
taken
possible
away.
that a superior consciousness, we come from that? That's all I wanted to get from it. Not whether it's
so
good, bad, doesn't like you, hates you,
my
whatever.
belief is that we've projected those consciousnesses back to a point in time after those consciousnesses would have emerged. It's a
Okay.
Okay, so you're talking about this is a development later on, people are extrapolating backwards. I want to go to the original. That something either was conscious or it became conscious or never was conscious. These are the options. So if you don't have...
They're ideas, they're mathematical expressions. They aren't conscious, we are.
No, mathematics, when you say mathematics, you're describing
Sorry,
rules.
They're not conscious, we are. Is that what you said?
Yeah, ideas only exist in,
No, when you talk about mathematics-
in our minds, because we actually have physical form.
Yeah.
We have the chains of sequences
But we
that go
would
through
say
to
the
process that
universe does
information.
as well, wouldn't we? That the universe has a physical form. Would we not?
It does, but we don't have any way of identifying a massive intergalactic network of neural systems that would give rise to thought. I mean, it could be that there is some fundamental level of consciousness within the universe, but then you would also be
That's what I think.
you would also be then reverse asking for an individual photon to have some level of consciousness that actually adds to the systems and builds it
double
up.
slit experiment? Isn't that the case with the double slit experiment?
No, it only goes through one side. Let's do the choice argument. And another expression that I'd have to demonstrate something else.
No, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
So we're talking about that something that existed always, and either is a conscious entity or not a conscious entity. You're talking about there are mathematical. What is mathematics? In your mathematics, the mathematics that you're talking about, does it have rules, axioms, equations?
So there are an infinite
Properties.
number of mathematics.
And they
more
follow
than an
particular
infinite number, in fact.
rules,
And
laws?
each one will have its own set of rules.
Right. So that thing that existed always, did it have rules within it inherently?
It had all the rules, yes. And
How? Why?
Why? The rules are emergent. They
How did the rules emerge? The thing existed always. Remember that something,
Everything.
possessing energy, existed
Yes.
always.
Well, like I
How
said,
did the rules emerge?
Like I said,
Like how?
you start off with an infinitely dense point that expands infinitely.
This thing wasn't a point.
But it was after it collapsed back into a point after becoming everything.
This is, you see, you're now going back, way back into the future. I'm talking about, there was no
Way
beginning.
back into the future. Way
Yes.
back into the past.
I'm talking about way back in the past when there was no past.
Mansur.
There was no
you
past.
use the word future and past. I was
He's
thinking
way too good. You're not gonna
I don't understand. I mean, what good about? The reason why
But
we're
he's
able to
taking
have
this
a,
as I know.
we are able to have a conversation because at least we know what we're talking about on this very issue. We're talking about issues that there's something that existed always. You're describing things that happen sometimes in the future. This,
I have reason to believe that things happen in the
right,
future.
but I'm going back, way back before that happened, the events happened. We're talking about things where there was no beginning. When there was no beginning, and you're saying rules were emerging. Emerging from what? And how?
They're fundamental to something being or not being. I just described the
This
three,
thing
the three
has
fundamental-
energy, right? This thing has energy. Possesses energy.
Every single bit of energy.
Right,
yes.
energy.
Yeah, all of it.
So now, from
Could
this
expand
energy,
infinitely.
things proceeded. We came from that energy. Eventually,
Yes, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So when we came, you're
are
saying
frozen
that,
energy.
that wasn't a conscious decision. It just happened. Rules emerged.
Yes.
Yeah, how? I want to know how rules emerge in an entity or a thing that was always there.
You divide one part of that energy from the totality of all the other bits of energy. You have a quantum leap of the most basic unitized piece of energy to divide infinity up into its
That division that
constituent
took place, was it conscious or not
parts. No,
conscious?
it's a function of
Function.
Yeah.
How is that a function? Where is this function property coming from when it has no beginning? Everything that you describe, an event happened.
Yeah, but there's a compression of.
Compression is an event. It's happening.
Yes, but it's always been going on. The universe is cyclic.
There was no beginning.
May I ask the
Remember,
question?
there was no beginning. It was always there. So where does the compression come in? Compression is also property.
Because it expanded before and it compressed again.
No, it says before or after. Remember, there was no before. It was
Yes, there
always
was.
there.
No.
It was always there.
Yes, but it's always been there.
No, when it
And
was
it's
always
been compressing and expanding and compressing and
When you say
expanding.
compression,
we have had this conversation
No, no.
before, and I've got equally
When you say
frustrated with you last
compression,
time.
no, compression and expression, this compression is done because of what? What compresses it?
The dream is over. The expansion expression is finished. Infinity was reached.
So can I ask him a question?
Yeah.
Can you have another discussion perhaps? Because you're coming up from a particular point of view, and I'm coming up from a particular point of view. It's quite
Yeah,
obvious.
you want to
trying to
understand what I
go
say,
back,
and he
you're
wants to
trying to-
understand.
No, I'm going to
Yeah, go on.
explain to the
Because he keeps
position where.
he's repeated the same thing
No,
4 or 5
it's
times.
not about repeating. It's trying to understand that is his position that is it something that he just merely believes.
Can I
Like,
still ask him a question?
have I ever said no?
Thank
But
you.
what I'm saying is,
My friend.
is it
Could
going to be
you-
relevant to this? Then
I don't
carry
know.
on.
If you
Because
don't
every
think it
time,
is, then
because
it
every,
doesn't
no.
have
I'm
to
saying
doesn't
every time
matter.
you ask,
I'm
then
not
we
here
go
to
back
solve all your
to
problems.
another
What I
topic, and we have to come back again.
Can you give me a definition of consciousness, please? I think it might be relevant to what you're asking.
Consciousness is something that I observe to be emergent from the brain, from an interacting system of related parts that function in parallel and produce this expression that I can define mathematically. There is, you come across qualia in philosophy. The idea of qualia.
No.
So you know, well, I don't know that you necessarily feel a sensation of cold or the rain or the weather, or heat. I infer it because you act in a way that would
that
suggest
says
that you
I
do. Now I know that I experience that sensation, and that sensation I can't explain. I
Right.
don't have an understanding of that, and that's the only thing I don't think I understand.
Okay. Can I, by you saying that, would you accept that there's a possibility that the universe is that a possibility that you can say is a possibility? And I'm saying it in this way is that I'm saying it in this way. When I say it, I'm saying it in this way is that we are a smaller version of the universe. So if that's the case,
we contain the universe within it.
Thank you. So if that's the case, there's a possibility that the universe itself is a consciousness, a bigger version of us.
Yes, but it operates far slower.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that. One minute.
Its understanding is
So
far less than ours.
what he's saying is possibly valid.
You said quite a lot of things. I'm not sure which bit you're referring to.
Basically, the universe being a consciousness, whether you wish to call it God or not.
I don't have evidence to suggest that. But I would
could you accept it could be a positive? Thank you.
The reason why I'm talking about this something which has no beginning, we agreed on, always there.
It's everything.
Always there. So if something is always there, now within this always there with no beginning, you're saying properties emerge. Properties to emerge.
Okay, so all those properties are already there, and when I say they emerge, I mean they are they begin when the universe, the energy thing re-expands into the infinite.
When the energy thing re-expands or expands, that expansion...
There is an absolute chain of events that has to be followed.
You see, you're giving us has to be followed, expands. These are things, events that you're describing.
Because everything is built up from something fundamentally basic. So you start off with the laws of logic. And
so the laws of logic was present from the very beginning.
The laws of logic have to be followed for anything else to make any sense.
So you are saying
I'm talking about three logical absolutes.
This something that always existed follows laws of logic.
Yes.
So it's an inherent property. And what are those laws of logic? Just for the sake of understanding. What are those properties that are inherent within
it?
So
the three logical absolutes are, in layman's terms, we describe them as a thing is what it is, isn't what it isn't, and there is nothing in between those two.
Okay.
So everything, every concept, everything is definable absolutely and specifically as either being what it is, not being divided from everything else and being unique, and there is no point in between those two. Something cannot be both itself and something else in the same context.
So using those three absolutes that you describe, how does this then proceed to do events like compression and expansion?
Everything exists. So they all exist within this theoretical point that would be the collapse into this area of nothingness.
There is no area of nothingness.
This point where nothing previously existed, where the entirety of the universe collapsed, the entirety of everything collapsed into.
So when you say something existed always, you believe everything existed always.
Yes.
Then there was no nothing.
Nothing is a thing that is not, and is therefore must be somewhere. There must be a position in the everything where there is not a thing.
If everything is something or something is everything, there is no nothing.
There is a point of origin where everything came from.
But you said there is no origin. There is no point of beginning.
Okay, so let's go back. So let's say if you were to line up every single thing that you can possibly have, all the positive numbers, all the negative numbers, all the imaginary numbers, all the bananas, all the quantumly entangled particle variations, everything, you were to line it all up, there would still be a point of origin where nothing exists.
Infinity has an origin?
Sorry? Yes.
In a series of numbers, what's the origin? Give me a number. Give me a number series.
The first number, and before that,
there is no first number.
Sorry,
there is no first number.
In what? Sorry?
In an infinite series, how can you have the first number?
It's a series. You just described something that has an order. It's a series of things. Therefore, there is a first number.
And before that, there isn't.
There is no number before the first one.
Then it's not infinite, is it?
Yes, it is.
If it starts...
Have you general set theory?
Let's
the null
understand
set.
that. Let's understand that.
The null set is the nothing.
So you say something starts from 0,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Prior to that...
No, you start off with nothing, and then you have the first object, and
You
the
can't.
second thing, the
You
third
can't.
thing,
Nothing
the fourth
cannot
thing.
generate something.
Sorry?
As you said earlier.
That's because it doesn't actually exist.
Huh?
Everything has existed for always.
When you say, if you say,
can be pushed back into the null
you are
set
contradicting. And I'll
because
tell you
can
how you're
have
contradicting.
infinite informational
You know how you're
density.
contradicting? You know why you're contradicting?
I would
If it
love to
start-
see you tell me why I'm contradicting myself because
If
would
it
explain
starts,
everything.
if it starts with something, prior to that, what was it?
Nothing.
No, it was itself.
If
A
it
is
starts
A is A.
prior to that, what was it? Because it started with something.
No, you're misunderstanding. So you said if you have a series of an infinite series, what's before that? Now a series actually has within it the concept of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a
What was
series.
before one?
Sorry?
What was before?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Just
Yes.
hold on for a
That
second.
series is
No,
infinite.
just
Would you
hold
agree-
on for a
would you
second.
agree that series is infinite?
Just hold on for a second. There was nothing before that, right? Then it became something.
That series existed forever.
That series.
But in that series, there is a null set. That is not included
let me
in the
explain
series
what I mean.
because you don't have
If you
anything
have,
to put there.
if you have something that has no beginning, nothing to begin with, then how can it even begin with a series of any number?
No, there's a confusion between virtual and reality. I think you need to explain that.
No,
Listen,
I'm trying to
if
explain
you
that
have
there
if
is
you
a
have a
fundamental-
number starting with 0, for example, yeah, what was before 0?
Well, you can put another 0 there, but you're
Sorry?
talking. You can put another 0 there if you want before that 0.
And before that?
Oh, an infinite number of zeros. But you're not actually adding any value to it. It's not there.
No, let's make that into series. So that series has 0, 0, 0 beforehand, and it goes on ad infinitum at the back, in the past.
Yes. And before that, there's another 0. And before that infinite series, there's
So,
another series
so
of infinite
it started
zeros.
with zeros. Well, it didn't start. It was always 0 to begin with, right? Isn't that what you're saying?
So,
Isn't that what you're
we're
saying?
talking on so many different
No.
levels here.
You are saying this series has 0. Before that was 0. Before that it was 0. So it was zeros to begin with. When there's no beginning, right? It was always 0 at the very beginning, or there's no beginning. Yeah.
Yes, that 0 was always 0.
So it was always 0, and then it became 1, 2, and so on.
No. That series always existed as well. That 0 existed.
No, that 0.
And that 1
remember,
existed.
Remember.
And that 2 existed, and all of them existed in an infinitely informationally dense point.
But
that
when you
expands
describe something in
one
physics,
at a time, then the second one, then the third one, then the fourth
you're not
one, infinitely.
you're describing different series, not the same series that we're talking about. Let's look at it. Take a series of positive numbers, starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Oh, 0 isn't a positive number.
Okay, from 1.
Yeah.
Before that, what was it? Did that series exist with something before that?
That series exists as a concept within the totality of infinity. Yes.
No. That particular series, is it infinite?
It is one infinite, yes.
So infinite in one direction, not in all directions.
Yeah, that series by definition is infinite in one direction.
So it cannot be
it's
like
linear.
Okay, so it's one direction. It's not infinite. The concept we're not talking about like that.
It's linear.
We are
It's
talking
linearly
about. We are talking about our universe,
Yes.
which always existed without a beginning. Always existed without a beginning. So which mathematical series are you going to use here now? Tell me.
I don't understand the question.
The universe that we are talking about, the reality,
Yeah. So
always
the one I
existed.
see, yes.
Always existed. If you're going to use a mathematical notion to describe this as an infinite series, which of the series are you going to use now? Something that always existed.
All of it already existed.
Always existed, not already, always existed.
Yes.
Right. So give me a mathematical, because you're describing by mathematics, give me a mathematical series that describes that.
It describes reality, the entirety of it.
No, that is what we were talking about. Something that existed always.
No, everything existed always. Stop saying something. I'm not talking. So, in order for anything to exist, you have to have.
See, if everything existed always, then there's no point nothing existed. There's no room for nothing.
But nothing didn't exist. But if you expand infinity in all directions, there has to be a single thing where there isn't a single space where there isn't a thing.
So always, so everything didn't exist always then. There was a room for.
No, but if you've expanded out, if you've expanded
Expanding
infinity.
to Expand to what?
English is not the language for this. Right.
Okay, I have to go and pray. We can continue the discussion afterwards, right? But you can carry on.
I might have to go. Can I get your number or something?
I have to quickly go and pray. If you give me 5 minutes.
Can you hang about for 5 minutes?
To see more videos like this, subscribe to Titans TV down below. Thanks.
The greatest darky that bite with shark teeth and hate malarkey. Who you? The greatest heartbeat, ancient Egypt as a matriarchy. Who me? The one with the S on his chest when the motherfucker go by. Who you? The one everybody calls your highness cause the weed got you feeling so high.